I believe that the flying saucers seen by veteran airline and Air Force pilots are objects from another planet. The Air Force has officially analyzed the motives of possible visitors in space. Here is a direct quotation from the official report. Such a civilization might observe that on Earth we now have atomic bombs and are fast developing rockets. In the past history of mankind, they should be alarmed. We should therefore expect at this time above all to behold such visitation.
Sort of increases the features of things, obviously around the device. I couldn't get in on this one, this blocks, the edge of the first time I walked around the outside, it was only 2 feet up onto the actual circuit. So I got up there, which again was from
we were standing having a cup of cocoa here, and what had happened?
No,
while driving down this
group of lights, nothing, no softness.
I noticed something at the end of the boat, at the top of the boat.
Got into the
one central.
My name is Mark Wallace, and today I'm going to explain to you about something that happened about a year ago when I had an experience and for the first time in my life saw about 50 unidentified flying objects. And I was driving my car down Fence Piece Road from Chigwell going towards Seven Kings. While driving down this road, I noticed something in my peripheral vision. So I glimpsed to the side because I'm driving straight, so I can't really, drive straight and be looking like that. So I'm driving and I'm like this, and I'm like, what, you know what I mean? I got to these traffic lights coming up here, which is just more or less the corner of Fence Piece Road and Chigwell Road, and I turned right into this same petrol station here and came in right here behind where this white vehicle is here. Now, I parked up and I actually picked up the fuel pump and put it into my car, and at that point, for some reason, I'd forgotten about the orange light that I'd seen in the sky. I'd say I pumped maybe about only 50 pence into my fuel tank when I noticed that right there I saw about 7 people standing over there, and they were looking up in the sky in this direction, in between those trees, and they was pointing up in the sky. At that point I looked up and I could see 3 orange lights in a triangle formation, another 3 here and another 3 right there, and there was another 6 that had come off in that direction in triangle formations of 3. Now, after that point there, I realised that a line of people was starting to go behind me because I hadn't pumped my fuel. So I finished, I pumped my fuel, went into the petrol station, paid for my petrol, drove out the spot. There were still people there watching. I got to here, turned right as I'm about to, went straight through these lights, got to here, and I thought to myself, hold on a minute, let me phone my friend and see if he can see what I'm seeing. So I've got out of the vehicle right here. Now this was realistically about 10 to 15 minutes after the first sighting. The sky was littered with them, literally in rows of 3. I called my friend Trevor and asked him if he could see what I was seeing. He said that he couldn't. It's only at that point that I realised, I should record some of this. And it's at that point that I walked basically to the corner and I started recording, and that's where you see my footage from, where you see the edge of the petrol station. You can see them coming up. By that time, about at least 40, 45 had passed at least. I stood right here. And from the angle I was at, you could actually see them coming over and going up all the way over, and I filmed them right the way up to about there. All in all, the sighting lasted about 20 minutes at least. It was 15 minutes before I even started recording. That just shows, you know, when you're in shock sometimes, you know, you don't even realize it, you know. Some people might say that, you know, they think that what I saw could have possibly been Chinese lanterns or something like that, you know. And okay, but me personally, in what I see, I'll rule that out because I've seen how Chinese lanterns behave in the atmosphere, and you know, when you light them, and just the way that they bobble, and the wind blows them as well, you know. And the higher up they get, the more windy it gets. They do a random path. What I saw was not doing a random path. It was in perfect triangle formation, one in the front, two to the side. If I had a massive ruler, I could have gone and drawn a perfect triangle. That's how in alignment they were, you know. This one wasn't slightly, and the front wasn't slight. It was a perfect triangle in the sky. And it kept the triangle right the way across the sky. From taking off, I saw it coming from ground level all the way up till I couldn't see it no more, fading out. And they stayed in the triangle formation. And they came in threes, 3, 6, 9, perfect formation. So Chinese lanterns is out of the question.
Wake up, cause something big is taking place all over the world. Truth, knowledge and wisdom can be the best ammunition, so long as it's being loaded into an open mind. These are serious times. You think it's a lie or conspiracy theory? Do your research. Go to YouTube, check out Zeitgeist, also New World Order, not forgetting Freemasons and Illuminati, Philadelphia experiments, the Montauk Project, also the Blue Beam Project, the radio, media, subliminal mind control that the government is going on with, right down to the toothpaste with the fluoride as a mind suppressant. Open your eyes. Open your mind and see what's been going on in front of your eyes. Freemason government feeding your lies. For thousands of years they've been in a disguise, but now it's time for disclosure. True enough for them a turn soldier to fight in a legal war with a hidden agenda. Man, woman and child get dismember. Too many innocent lives been taken. The British and American government secret societies are running everything. It's time to awaken. When I turn on the TV, what I see violence and crime. You them I go and walk while enough of them I take badness up as a habit. Don't say me never warn ya. True enough we have to go tell enough of them. It's time for disclosure, yeah. Everybody get ready for the ride of your life, cause it's time for all of the people to wake up and take over. Ascension 2012, a transformation to the 5th dimension. You wanna go there, then raise your vibration. Mind calendar predicts it's the end of the world when the planet's in alignment. But I don't watch that cause I'm infinite. I know that I'm gonna come back like everybody else, but I'm gonna start where I left at. You're all intrinsically connected. That's why the government wanna separate us. Enough confusion and a lot of chaos, so lower everybody's self-esteem, cause EU stands for nothing, will fall for anything. We're all of the indigo children. We gotta rise up, deal with the situation before it's too late. Too much destruction. Grace, Draco, Syrians, Palladians, not forgetting humanoid reptilians. Not all of them are bad. Some are working for the interest of the human, but not for them in a Babylon system. Engineer every war and recession. Not for them never knew that President Bush and Barack Obama are cousins. Don't say me never warn ya. True enough we have to go tell enough of them. It's time for disclosure, yeah. Everybody get ready for the ride of your life, cause it's time for all of the people to wake up and take over. Order, microchips that's under the skin. Chemtrails in the sky, what's going in? Big brother CCTV, them I want see everything. Babylon could I never reach heaven from. You see what they done, Fahrenheit 9/11. Don't believe what you hear on the radio or see on the TV, they think that they're clever. Don't say me never warn ya. True enough, we have to tell enough of them. It's time for disclosure. Yeah, everybody get ready for the ride of your life, 'cause it's time for all of the people to wake up and take over. Don't say me never warn ya. True enough, we have to tell enough of them. It's time for disclosure. Yeah, everybody get ready for the ride of your life, 'cause it's time for all of the people to wake up and take over.
Yeah, for real. It's time for the masses to take control of your own mind, body and soul. See, wake up. Big up Neil Anthony. Earth leakage trip.
It all started when I was given the job to pick up a director's car from Edinburgh Airport because he got the flight down, I think something to do with bad traffic or something. So I had all day to plan, and I knew that coming from Edinburgh I'd pass Otterburn Ranges. Got to Otterburn quite early in the morning. I was doing the register for the Abbott self-propelled gun at the time, and I knew there was 3 or 4 Abbotts on there, but also there was Second World War target vehicles which they use for the RAF to bomb, etc. I left the car near the base at the bottom. I'd walked along to one of the other entrances in. I think there's like a Harrier airport there where they pick bombs up from rather than go back to base. So I went past there, took a picture of quite a few vehicles and saw a shiny object in the distance, which was actually the aluminium hull of a vehicle. And when I got there, yes, it's sure enough, it was a Scorpion type vehicle, which was really corroded aluminium. So I thought, oh, that's nice, took a picture. Carried on, and there was quite a few other ferrets, and I thought, well, one day I'll do a ferret website. So I saw this, what looked like a huge lump of aluminium sticking out of the bank, and wasn't sure how big it was till I'd actually got to it. But when I looked at the watch, basically the camera had stopped working, the video had stopped working. It didn't look like, as I got closer, it didn't look like anything that should be, that we know about army wise. And basically it was a huge disc sticking out of what looked like it was sticking out of the bank. There was a bank behind it, and it was just sitting there. There was long grass, I couldn't see if there was any legs or whatever. The thing was between 40 and 60 feet round. I started to look around the device itself, which was completely no motion, no bright lights, no nothing organic whatsoever, no bolt holes, absolutely nothing. There was nothing on this thing at all. Looked underneath, there was no legs. So I thought, crumbs, it must be suspended from that bank. But when I went round the bank, I actually passed my arm through the grass and underneath, and see underneath, there was nothing there at all. It was just suspended in the air, just sitting there. And then I thought, right, I'm getting out of here. So I started walking back. And I thought, right, while I'm here, I'm going to try and get a picture. So I carried on and on and on and on. And I must have been half a mile away before stuff started jumping back into action. And then I thought, well, this isn't working. So I went back again and stood there. I mean, I wasted so much time that, hindsight, I should have been sitting there getting, if I knew what this device was, getting as much information out of it as possible. So I walked back round it, had another look. I tried to move it, and I put my shoulder up against it, and I moved it like a lorry. It was about, say, something very heavy, not a car even. It was moving. It's a bit like moving a ship on water.
You can actually move it. If you don't feel anything moving to start with, but after a while it goes. And then, after I'd done that for a bit, I moved it about 6 inches, and it readjusted back that 6 inches and nearly knocked me flying. It was that much of a correction. So, and then after that, well, after say another 3/4 of an hour of running away and coming back again, because that really, I really thought something, you know, in a minute, somebody's going to come out with a remote control or something and start laughing, you know. So I went, ran off again. When I came back again, I tried that again. It did exactly the same thing. Anyway, it had a square hole in one side, which you could see through. You could see right through it. It's a void of everything except for one square block on one wall, one side. So you could imagine a tunnel straight through the top bit was more domed than the bottom bit. There was a few sort of creases and features and things, obviously around the device. I couldn't get in on this side because there's a 20-foot drop between the edge of it and the ground. So I walked around the other side, and it was only 2-3 feet up onto the actual circular bit of it. So I got up there, which again was just like walking on concrete, you know. No dent, no pushing in with your foot, nothing, no softness. It was rock hard, solid. And got into the inside of it, which is why I thought somebody's put this here in concrete and has painted it. You know, I still was looking down the lines of a defence item, basically. So when I got up into the square hole, like I said, it was void of anything. There was no controls, no green men, no soldier, nothing. One side of the wall was smooth and a darker colour than the rest of it. This side had the square block, which later on I knew what it was for, basically. And you could sit on that square block. It's quite a seat, you know, it's quite like sitting on a box, basically. But if you sat on it for very long, it started forming the shape of your bottom. A bit like, not memory foam, but it was still rock solid. When you got up and went bang, 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 it wasn't a cushion, it was forming the shape of you, perfectly so. Eventually it got more and more comfortable. So, anyway, you know, I sat there thinking, right, what am I going to do? And I said something to myself, and whatever it was, did a quick stuttering, 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 little stutters after I'd said what I said. Instantaneously, it carried on with 4 little stuttering sounds. I jumped off and ran, and that's when I jumped off the end, which was 20 feet drop. And I thought, right, you know, I'm off. There's definitely something here. I'm going to hear about this later. You know, a camera crew's going to come out and say, "Oh, we got you," you know. And but after a while I thought, no, if I'm missing something here, I want to get back and do this. So I went back and got back on it, looked inside, make sure there was nothing. It was still exactly the same as I left it. Hadn't moved, no noise, nothing. I didn't feel any ill effects. There's nothing appearing on me like any radiation burns or any rubbish like that, you know, which I suppose other people have had. And so I said something again, and again I heard the stuttering. Then I have to cut a long story short here, because it was just basically trying to imitate everything I said, but I couldn't hear it. But after a while the stuttering got longer and longer, and I could hear bits of my own voice in each section of that stuttering. Okay, so I thought, I don't know what it's doing. It's either trying to mimic me or it's trying to learn my voice and language. So after that, I just kept talking. And after, say, half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, it was almost talking back to me in my own voice. I could hear my London accent. It was like I was listening to a recording of myself, you know. And although it was mimicking what I said, after a while, you know, I can't remember the transition between, because it was so sort of gradual. It basically started talking, you know, if I asked a question, it would basically talk back to me, say in my own voice, answering my question. I said, "Why are you here?" Instead of saying back to me, "Why are you here?" it said, "Information gathering," but in my own voice. And I thought, no, wait a minute, I must be going bonkers, and I'm telling myself what I want to hear. But nothing, my lips weren't moving. no effects, no echo, nothing in my head, and there was no sound whatsoever like hissing sound or tape sound, which made me think, my God, if they have done a hoax, it's seriously elaborate, because I can't hear any recording noise, no tape noise, no digital clicks or, nothing. There's nothing here at all. Just my voice, like I was talking to myself, except my lips weren't moving. And I actually physically held my lips a few times, like that, to make sure it wasn't me talking. Because I really did think, I'm going mad, I'm going bonkers. I've heard, I now know that there was doors either end, but they were that perfectly made that you couldn't see the join. I'd say the edges of the ship were about 45 degrees, very slightly curved, and that door would have shut off. Two doors would have shut off both ends, like a. I don't know where they were. I never actually saw them open or close. So, but they did say, look at the edge, and you can see the door line. It is there, but if you look at it a foot away, you can't see a mark. Was that perfectly made? If it was a defence item, I'd say it was made of titanium. Sitting on the block inside, which by this time had obviously fitted, it fits me perfectly. It was very, very comfortable. And asking questions, I was getting the answers back, but on the wall in front of me, there was backup sort of images. Like, for instance, I asked how the actual device was sitting here floating 1 foot off the bank, and I could move it and it would move back. And it said, it's contra-rotating this. And then a big schematic appears on the screen, which, I couldn't make head nor tail of. I could tell it was the device. I didn't know whether it was end on or whether it was top or, but I could see that there was 2 contra-rotating discs. Whether the discs were solid or whether they were a gas or a liquid, I couldn't tell you. I didn't ask the question, I should have done. But basically it's got 2 contra-rotating areas inside that are doing millions of RPM, and that's what causes the thing to become weightless. There's lots of other things that although I asked the questions, I couldn't, it was too complicated for me to take in about fields and why my watch was stopped, for instance, why my cameras wouldn't work. That was a very simple one. When you've got contra-rotating discs doing millions of RPM, it actually creates a very, very fast alternating field. Very, very fast. And because electrons move along a wire or alternating current, this is such a high alternating field that poor old electron can only stay still. It can't go backwards, it can't go forward, because the alternating current is far too fast. So therefore, electricity stops. Very simple. And I've heard people who've seen UFOs say their car engine stopped. Exactly the same thing. And a high alternating field doesn't affect anything else either, only electricity. So everything around it stops. You can't start anything, you can't do anything. All those electrons in those wires are moving, but on the spot, and not travelling to create electricity, not going round atoms like this, all the way down a wire. They're just going backwards and forwards. The higher the alternating field, obviously, and the only thing that can create that is rotating discs. When a magnet passes the next one, creates a pulse, then goes back again. And if it's doing that millions of 2-3 million times, which is another reason why it's contra-rotating, because you can get that to pass each other at double the speed of your disc. So it creates one pulse. But these magnets are all around it. There was, on the schematic, there was like dinner plate size objects all round, which I assume were fixed magnets, and the other magnets on the discs they're fixed magnets on the discs, and the top ones are electro. So you can actually spin the unit up using just power. But because there was no plugs or anything on the side, I said, where's the plugs to put electricity in to spin it up? They said, no, it's done in the magazine. When it gets to the top of in the mothership, in the magazine, there's 2 things that go on it, and they spin it from the outside. And when it's at so many million RPM, which, again, if you ask how long does that take, can't answer you because there's no time. Time was forgotten whenever it left its planet. See? And the funny thing was, I said, you know, where's your planet then? And it had gone millions of years ago. It had been destroyed, you know. And they say, well, these things are coming and going all the time. And the mothership, well, this system is fully automatic. There's no, the actual device comes down, gets all the information it wants and goes back again, and that's it, then the mothership moves on. It's all fully automatic. But it's transmitting all its findings the whole time. Even the mothership is transmitting all its findings. So if anyone comes into range of that transmission, it can learn information about another part of the galaxy. And they're all, well, whoever's involved is sharing information. But they say we out here are stuck out in the middle of nowhere, whereas other places, there's hundreds of planets with people on. Yeah. We're stuck in the middle of nowhere. Basically, I did ask a lot of questions about other aliens and who might have come to see us, etc. And the diversity is absolutely incredible.
It was a Thursday night, we were here jamming. The end of the evening we went outside, it was a nice warm evening. Went into the garden to chill out, and as soon as we got into the garden, up in the sky, it was 3 bright spotlights in a triangle formation. Extremely bright, brighter than everything else in the sky. They quickly started fading as soon as we looked at them, but I happened to have a night vision scope in my hand, by coincidence. Looked up at the triangle, and as I heard Neil say, it's gone, they'd faded quite quickly. I could still see them in the scope. And they swiftly moved upwards and faded away, possibly tilting at the same time, but always staying in formation and equidistant to each other. The 3 lights didn't have anything solid between them, you could see through it, and there were stars behind it, so it wasn't a solid form, but they looked linked. And that was it. Kind of quite exciting, really.
So I was walking through Westfield shopping centre in Shepherd's Bush, just looking around the shop. Was not really interested in buying anything because I was suddenly overwhelmed with a lot of emotion, as if I was heartbroken, and there's a lot of sadness, and it's been something I had been struggling with for a while. And after this outburst of emotion inside me, suddenly it got very quiet, and I got in a very serene state. It was like bliss. And I kept on walking, and suddenly I perceived around me a circle of 4 or 5 beings who I perceived with a mix of vision and feeling. It was a bit in between, and they were maybe 2.5 meters high, all made of white light, and they were looking down on me with a lot of compassion and love and admiration as well. And it was so weird and so surprising. I never had this kind of experience before. So tactile anyway. And then it vanished, and I was so overwhelmed I had to sit down after a few steps. And I don't know who those beings are or how to call them, but the biggest gift of that experience was the feeling that I was admired by what I perceived to be higher beings. I was being admired for being human, for choosing to come down here. And that really counterbalanced a lot of feelings of low self-esteem or downsizing that I could have when you can get a bit depressed. And that gave a completely different perspective on my life and my presence here. So it was really a gift, yeah.